The FA have announced a ban on heading in children's football as part of efforts to reduce the risk of brain injury and long-term cognitive damage. But at grassroots level, the decision has divided opinion. I spoke to a local youth football coach to find out how the change is being received. Children under the age of 12 will no longer be allowed to head the ball during matches or training. The FA say the move is based on growing medical evidence linking repeated head impacts to long-term brain health issues. However, some coaches and parents have questioned whether the ban goes too far.
My personal perspective, I probably agree. I think it has been blown out of proportion. I do think there's, a risk to consider, but I think to, completely ban it, remove it, at such young age, when it very rarely happens anyway, from what I've witnessed.
The FA argue that even at youth level, repeated contact with the ball can pose a risk, particularly while players' brains are still developing.
I think, from my perspective, in the years I've been coaching for the younger age groups, I don't think it's been a massive issue overall. Yeah, it seems that, serious, but I think from the amount of times I've actually seen it happen, and the amount of interactions with, a head and a ball on the pitch in training, for the amount of times I train with the kids, I think the risk, I think it's been maybe a little bit blown out of proportion on the whole.
One concern raised by critics is whether removing heading entirely could leave young players at a disadvantage if they progress into the professional game later on.
I think the amount of interaction that the kids have at a young age in terms of heading the ball, I think it's quite minimal. I think when you're looking at under sixes and under sevens, I think for them to actually whip a ball in the air and for someone to, to time a connection with that ball, from a cross, a corner, a free kick and so on, the chances are really, really slim. So when you look at probability, it's probably on the lesser of that scale.
Some have argued that better coaching and education around safe heading technique would be a more balanced solution than an outright ban. But for children training once or twice a week, this would steal valuable coaching time.
Again, most of the game nowadays is played on the ground. Yeah, you've got to adapt sometimes. They use the term "get it in a mixer." How often in a 70, 80-minute game am I seeing people head the ball? I could probably count on one or two hands.
The FA insists that the ban is about protecting children's long-term health, but the debate over its impact on player development and the future of the game continues to rage on. For now, grassroots football faces a significant change, one that could reshape how young players learn the sport for good.